Hey everyone, I'm David Bowden with Spoken Gospel, and today's verse is 1 Peter 2:24, which says this: He himself bore our sins in his body on the cross, so that we might die to sins and live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. Peter here is quoting from the Old Testament book of Isaiah. In Isaiah's day, God's people were committed to idolatry and evil. These sins had wounded their fellow citizens and infected their land. So much so that God, like a surgeon, sent the army of Babylon to amputate Israel's corruption in order to save his people. But in hope, Isaiah prophesied that God would one day send someone to heal the wounds of his sinful people in a different way. Instead of sending an army to purify Israel, he would take the sins and evils of Israel onto himself. Peter here is interpreting Isaiah. The man who would deal with the evil and sin of God's people is Jesus himself. On a wooden cross, Jesus died from the wounds and sins inflicted by his own people. But 3 days later, Jesus rose from the dead. And in his resurrection, the wounds God's people dealt and the infection they spread were demonstratively healed in Jesus' body on the tree. Peter says that Jesus did all this so God's people might die to sin and live to righteousness. Jesus wasn't simply absorbing the evil others committed against him. He was providing a way to be transformed from evil. Righteousness is loving God and loving others with your whole heart. In the past, Israel hated God and sinned against one another with their whole hearts. But through Jesus, those hearts were transformed. Jesus died when he took his people's wounds onto himself so that we could live as healed and righteous citizens of his kingdom. If you look at yourself and just see a broken mess, if you look at your actions and all you see is lovelessness and corruption and sinfulness, there is good news. I invite you to look to the cross because there is healing for you in Jesus.